Hello once again to our listeners. Welcome back to the seventh episode of the IVSA Kelantan podcast show. Today we have with us Dr. Choong Xiaoxin, or better known to University Malaysia Kelantan students as Dr. Sandie. Dr. Sandie graduated from University Putra Malaysia with a degree in veterinary medicine in the year 2000. She then went on to obtain a master's in veterinary medicine in terrygenology in 2002. Dr. Sandie also achieved her PhD in veterinary medicine from the University of Nottingham in the UK in 2016. Dr. Sandie has many noticeable achievements, amongst them being the Senior Veterinary Officer at the headquarters of the Department of Wildlife and National Parks in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, as well as being the Deputy Head of University Interdisciplinary Research Cluster, Zoonotic Disease and Public Health. Currently, she is a Senior Lecturer and Deputy Dean of Academic and Student Development at the Faculty of Veterinary Medicine in University Malaysia Kelantan. Today, she is here with us to talk about the prevalence of mental illness in veterinary professionals. Welcome, Doctor. Thank you for taking the time out to be with us.
Right, happy to see both of you. Thanks for inviting me.
Yes, so I will proceed with the questions now, Doctor.
Okay.
So this is a common fact that we often hear in this field is that veterinary vets have the highest suicide rate amongst all professionals. What do you think predisposes vets and those who work in the field to mental illnesses?
All right. So let's start with that statement is true for many developed countries, especially in the Western countries and East Asia. It may not be true for Southeast Asia, but no doubt veterinarians and as well as vet students are facing a lot of stress and pressure during the studies and later when they work. So there's no deny on it. Um, the predisposing factors, it could be multiple. Um, like for in Malaysia, I guess we are some way lucky because if local students that enroll in the local universities, um, the tuition fees, although is among the highest, um, for different programs. Comparatively to many countries like if you go to Australia or even UK and US, it is phenomenal. Vet graduates could be carrying hundred thousands of loan, which they need to pay back. And whereas in Malaysia, I think the Malaysian graduates do not have that much of a issue in terms of that. And very often the vets are relatively well paid compared to other profession. I mean, if compared to other general graduates in the work market right now. So when a person is facing a lot of financial troubles that like, they need to pay back a large amount of student loan, that could add on to the work pressure that they are going to face. So work wise, obviously, the working time is generally quite long, and at times, let's say for farm vets, they are in the working environment whole day and whole night. Either they are living very close to the workplace, or some of them might even live within the farm itself. So I've heard of people have sleepless nights because sometimes the alarm get triggered and then you have to wake up and go and see what is happening, and that's it. I mean, your nights are totally ruined in a way that people may not be able to get back to sleep, and then the next morning you have to get back to work again. You work in the clinics, the workload is usually rather heavy. You have tons of cases coming in, day out, and if luckily you get to solve most of the problem, which is that would be rewarding because that's what most vets are looking forward to, helping animals get better, see them healthy and go out of the clinic healthy and happy. But when we don't get to see that, and the worst, if you have unfortunately have to put the animal down, I think that really impact on many veterinarians, because for them, like, I came in to save animal, why do I have to put them down and see them die? Okay. I think that is something perhaps when they get into the study program, they may not anticipate that that is also part of their job, unfortunately. Okay. And happy endings are not always there. If, sometimes the sad endings are even more than the happy endings. For me, like when I work in the zoos, if animal do get sick, because being wild animals, they tend to hide their sickness as much as possible. So by the time you get to them, it's quite at the end stage, or almost at the point of no return. That could happen even in pets, because if let's say it was not noticed early enough, or it has been referred to other places, unfortunately they were unable to really help the animal. So this is something that vets, all vets, even from vet students itself, need to realize we can't help every single one. That's the reality of it lah. And sometimes because of the long working hours, you may even face personal issues, let's say with friends, families, because maybe they also demand your attention, which sometimes you cannot, we're unable to provide to them because of the work commitment. Last part of the potential contributing factors could be their relationship with the clients. There are some clients that could be rather harsh, and they may blame the vets for unfortunate event that happened to the vets, and the things that people may say when they are upset or they're angry. So it can be quite hurtful. Although, like, the vets, they know that they have given their best and all that they can do, but that is not, because usually the clients are not there with the patient, so they may not realize that, and some of them may just lash out. And for a person that have tried their best, and sometimes like a chain of events may happen. So like when you come in the morning, maybe you're happy, and you have a rather long day, and things keep happening, and unfortunately not the best thing that keep happening, and you have one after another. At the end of the day, and suddenly you get shout at somebody shouting at you, and sometimes even calling the vet being irresponsible or unkind or not humane even. So that is quite helpful and quite hurtful, sorry. And it can push a person that after you have had such a long day with all the not so pleasant event happening, and that could become like the last straw that push a person over in a way. So yeah, that's why I would say there's multiple factors that, and one person may be having more than one factor pushing onto them. That are some of the reasons that I could think of.
All right, doctor. So, speaking of the long hours at work as the inability to care for your patients the way you want to, another common term that we hear in this field is compassion fatigue, which is characterized by emotional and physical exhaustion due
Mm-hmm.
to continuously helping someone, in
Mm-hmm.
this case, our patients and maybe our clients as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, have you personally ever experienced compassion fatigue, and how do you handle it, doctor?
I would think that I did, because I start I started my career truly as a zoo vet or wildlife vet, because I wasn't really interested to be a small clinician that you just sit in the building and wait for the patient to come in. Really wanted to do something for the wildlife species in the country. So I went to the zoo, and not to say that the zoo is in bad condition, is the best condition that we can do at that time. Just that sometimes it is, you may feel helpless, and whatever you do is like the animal is still going to be in that condition, because it's beyond our power, let's say, to make a bigger zoo, to make a bigger cage, give them more environmental enrichment and things like that. You can't really improve their living condition too much unless I'm a billionaire myself, which I can buy down the whole zoo and set up the best that I can find, which is not possible. So yeah, after some time you get and at that time there was only one veterinarian in the zoo, so you're responsible for hundreds, if not thousand animals, or the little birds and everything that counted in. It can become overwhelming. So first you may like mentally you just shut down. You don't want to feel anymore because it's very hurtful to keep on looking at what is happening. But after you have shut down, then I felt like there's no point being there anymore because you don't really feel like you want to do your best. Or I mean, you're still doing your best, but you're no longer having that feeling of at the top of like you going with the enthusiasm that you first went in. After that, I left the profession in the way and took a 1 year career break. During that time, that's the time your body really like reboots and recheck. So whatever illness or whatever, I think probably sick for 2-3 months. It can come and go. It just not really very severe. There's like flus and fever and things like that. It came and go. But I did not really lose touch on the vet medicine. So I went to Taiwan for a month to volunteer there, and plus do some sightseeing and among friends. Yeah, that was good. So I came back, do other things, which takes your mind off. Then I started working again at the universities. So I guess if you feel that is some the working condition is not something that you can continue to cope with, and if possible the financial issue is not, you do not have much of a financial burden, it is possible you to take a break. Because there's no it's I've seen many people, not vets, even other professions, they are so detestful of what they are doing, but yet because they're hanging on because of the salary and all that, and it is that one is kind of sad lah for these people, because they are unable to get out of it. So I was fortunate because I did not have much of a financial commitment that I have to attend to, so I could just take off. If not for a year, maybe even 6 months, that I think that will be helpful. That is my experience.
All right, doctor, thank you for sharing that with us. And then for the next question, how can we as fellow students or even fellow professionals help each other in ameliorating this problem of compassion fatigue?
You mean helping each other, or
Yes,
how do
doctor.
we cope
Like how,
on our own?
yeah, how do we cope and how do we help each other cope with the problem?
Okay. On personal coping with the situation, that very much depends on the personality. I would say throughout my experience, I guess I'm rather realistic. I won't say I'm a totally optimistic person, but I'm realistic on like I understand what is possible, what is not, and there are things that just beyond your control. Perhaps that is helpful for coping. To some people, depends on, I guess you have to find some ways to take your mind off things if possible. Let's say think some may be very talented in arts or in musics or in sports even. So something to that is totally different from what you're doing. Perhaps that would be helpful, because hopefully that will create some endorphin and people feel happier. That's for me. Like for some people, they like to talk to others. Like for students, even I'm not sure about, let's say, in private practices, do they have that? But for universities, the staff and the students have access to university counselors, where you can go and talk to them and share your problems, or you just need somebody to talk to if you don't want to talk to the lecturers. Among lecturers, we do talk to each other. Or if, let's say, we after a very stressful week, we go out and have meals together, or sometimes a few of us that are closer to each other, we might go for a quick trip or something like that. I think that would be helpful. So to get away from where the stressful situation that you are in. Or if you have many other circle of friends, then perhaps you don't want to, your colleague may not be your only friend, so you have to go and see other friends. And I think most importantly, the realization among the veterinary profession that this can be a serious problem, and it's people realize that we need to address this if this such an issue arise. I think that in Malaysia or in most Southeast Asian country may not be the highest priority just about yet. But I think we are slowly catching up. We are more and more aware of such issue that may be coming into the profession.
All right, doctor. For my part, that's all.
Okay.
Okay, doctor. So, are there any kind of events that can be held for future veterinarians and in STEM students when they want to be alert of mental illnesses issues, especially when they are exposed to the working fields?
Okay. So for one, when during the intake selection, if for me, I do ask them what hobby do you have and who do you usually talk to, because at least like we know that you have somebody that you can turn to, and there's the potential candidate have other avenue of releasing their stress possible. So we would also give them a scenario. Let's say you have to put down animals, you have to work long hours. How will you feel? Of course, it's just a simple question, and it's within that short half an hour or 15 minutes. You may not get to see how the person is. So having maybe events like this, like webinars, podcasts, or you may even have, let's say, discussion in the faculty itself. So I know it's very busy, so the only time perhaps you have is only during the weekends. You don't have to do it very often, so maybe just every fortnight or every monthly kind of things if you can afford it, or even quarterly if the thing comes to that people realize that there are help out there, and then you can. So when they discuss also the how do we discuss, it's not just about venting and complaining, but for me is I'm also practical. So just talking to others, if it doesn't solve the problem, it's not going to go anywhere. You're going to continue to face the same issue. So talking about it may be relieving for somebody. It's like you have the tension is perhaps temporarily relief, but like being a vet student, like we have to find what is the root cause of the thing. Let's say why is animal sick, we have to find out the root cause and try to resolve that. So only then we can be, if not 100% resolved, at least most of it can be resolved. So for the new curriculum as well, so the faculty are undergoing the DVM program curriculum review. We're going to change one of the introduction to vet medicine, that course, to be not so regimental, but we're going to introduce the part in mental health and other personal development elements into the course. So there would be some different activities where I got some materials from where I did my PhD previously, University of Nottingham. So they have rather good program in terms of mental health concern. So we will try to simulate that to at least as a start, and we see how things go, and we will develop along the way and to suit our use. So those are some plans that we have in mind.
Oh, okay, doctor. So that is good to hear that our faculty is trying to approach this kind of mental illness subject more, like direct to the students. So is imposter syndrome commonly occurred among veterinary professionals?
Sorry, come again.
Imposter syndrome, is it commonly occurred within vet professionals? It's like when we doubt our abilities.
So I'm not sure whether would it extend to how severe it is. I think self-doubt would happen in everyone and anytime, depending on what we are facing. So even the best veterinarian out there would still doubt himself or herself. Did I do the best? Would I do this better? So if for me, I think when I was just starting off, the self-doubt is more because you're lacking in experience, and you're not sure that whether this is what you're doing is the best, or you have done all that you can. Particularly if, because when I first started, basically you're on your own. You're qualified, and there wasn't really a mentor always there for you. So most of the issue that comes along, you have to solve it on your own. That could make the matter more severe. But for many practices, I think nowadays they realize that we cannot rely on the fresh graduates to just pick up things and start running, because it's things have been developing so rapidly for the past couple of decades. And even us as lecturers, we are having a dilemma of how much we want to teach you. There's so many new things, new information. Probably 5 years is not enough. Like there's so many things that we want to share with you, but also like a person capacity. Can you sit there and listen to me for the next 10 hours and you keep on going? Not really, right? The brain also will one day stop. I can't take it anymore. So yeah, there's that part. So I think any field that you go in the first couple of years, it would be good. You have some sort of a mentorship, or you continue to develop yourself, and some training courses, depending whether your boss are willing to pay for you. If not, yourself. So take the initiative yourself, save up money. So when you first get your first job, don't straight away jump into buying a new car or fancy car anyway. Buy something that's affordable, but remember to invest in yourself in terms of training and education. So don't forget about that. If your bosses are willing to sponsor your training, that will be even better. And in fact, not necessarily you must just go for courses. Some of these people that are more experienced, they have this expertise, because from different clinics, you know that okay, Dr. A is an expert in orthopedics, and you have a case that you refer to them. Is if your boss allow you to go over, you can actually ask him or her, could I join in the surgery? If let's say orthopedic is something that you're very interested in, just say I want to join in. And so you're not officially learning in a course, but actually you're picking up as the surgeon is performing the surgery. So talk to people, you can ask their opinion. Like, I think most of us will not say, I don't want, no, I don't know you, I don't want to tell you anything or that. I think most of us in the vet fraternity are quite friendly, and they're willing to help and willing to share. So don't miss those opportunities. Actually, you can always pick things up along the way. So just ask them, like, okay, I'm interested in this, is it possible for me to join in, things like that lah. It's self-doubt is always there, just like how far you want to bring it on.
Okay, doctor. So then how about like when like students experience this kind of imposter syndrome or any kind of depression or facing some kind of anxiety issues, what kind of advices would you give to them?
Okay, because we did go through a rather stringent selection process. In fact, there is quite ironic actually. The good ones are the ones who self-doubt themselves the most. Actually, we have a few years back, the number one students, the top student in the class, thought that he will fail the comprehensive exam. So it's unbelievable. It's impossible lah. If the top student fail, that means the rest of the class is gonna fail for sure. Yeah, perhaps you should get some sort of standing of where you are in the class. You should have some kind of inclination, like let's say if we are during class, can you understand what is being taught? When you revise, you have the ranking among the class. But I'm not saying that just because the ranking is high, the person definitely would not fail, or they will not be able to do well in sometimes things just happen, especially during comprehensive exam. Maybe they just panic, although they have the knowledge, they know they have the skill, and some just panic and just went the totally wrong way, or some just blank out. So that can happen. But even myself, when I was in my final years, because you know that you're going to leave the vet school very soon, and there's so many things, and you're thinking like, wow, what can I really treat this animal? I'm out there myself, and what if I did the wrong diagnosis? Then you sit down with yourself like, okay, follow the steps. We have taught you the system step by step, and if you are unsure, you can always consult others. Or if let's say it's something that you think you cannot handle, refer it out. This is when you're practicing lah. Don't just felt like you have to do everything yourself. Somehow or other, I have to do this. It's okay. It's actually better if clinician realize that, oh, this is perhaps beyond me, and the patient will fare better if they go somewhere else with a better facilities, a person that is more knowledgeable in the case. So that's one. For students, if you have a certain standing, like you know where you are in the class, you just think this way: if I'm the among the top 10 or among the better half of the first half of the class, if I fail, that means the rest of the class will fail, which is not so likely usually. We hope the history will not change. For students that are really weak, and we know the students, I don't know whether the student realize, some of them do, but for lectures we know they are really, they are called in and we advise that this may not be your path. Would you consider changing your pathway? But very often the student would not want to lah. But I would say 90% or 95% of students, they can make it if they put in some effort, or even maybe change how they study or have more interaction. Most of them can make it. So in a way you have to work hard, but on another way, try not to overstress yourself.
Okay, Doctor. Thank you. I think that's all from me and Ashley. So do you have anything more to add, Doctor, before we go to the conclusion?
Okay, the last word I would say, I think it's everything is about from ourselves. Whether we want to get really stressed out, we really want to get burnt out, the action will be from ourselves. How we want to feel and how we want to act, whether you want to stay on or want to move away from what stress you out, it's from ourselves. And of course, talking to our friends and people can give you suggestions. Bottom line is still come back to us. So we have to make the decision and to decide where we want to go. And so just want to emphasize, everyone will have moments of self-doubt. So don't think that you are the only person that feel that way. Most of us, if we do our best, it will not go, I mean, with a good intention, we do our best. It would be blessed by the universe, or from whichever religion that you have, okay, the God that you believe in. So with good intention and good effort, don't be overly stressed on that. Okay.
Okay, Doctor. Thank you so much. That's all from us. Thank you so much, Doctor, for giving us insights of mental illnesses in the veterinary professionals. So mental health issues in our veterinary students and practitioners is an issue, and we really hope that the veterinary community is doing very well. We hope that everyone can spread positivity and also good vibes, and don't forget to be nice and kind to your vets. And as for our veterinary students, you are doing a great job every single day. So don't give up, and please do take care of yourself. We hope that this podcast session will be meaningful to our listeners. Thank you, Dr. Sandie, for taking the time to talk about this topic with us today. And for our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in on our podcast. And once again, thank you to our team for making this podcast possible. So have a good day, everyone, and stay safe. Remember to always be kind and spread positivity.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.